shake your dreams from your hair. I'm already there, right beside you. So please, don't hide, just say I'll be there if it breaks, right beside you. Suddenly
Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. Crystal from Gecko Diva here. Welcome to Coffee and Cresties. And we got a pretty full house this morning. I know it was a few minutes late. A little, you know, it happens. It's been a crazy week. For those of you who've been following, the 15 Minutes of Lame contest has started. And I've hit it full force. So, yeah, I came out swinging. And really wanted to really kind of put out as much as I could that would be fun and really kind of gain the interest and get everyone kind of checking it out and being on board and seeing what it's all about. But before we get into all that fun, I just wanted to say a huge thanks to our guest today, Nick over at HKD Geckos, because he sponsored today's episode with some Tim Hortons. So as you can see, we're all sitting around the table this morning and we had some donuts and coffee and white hot chocolates. And it was and listening to Home Alone. Clearly it's on the TV, and we have 2 Christmas trees going right now. So we went to the Christmas tree farm. Some of you may have seen it in the reel yesterday. But we went and got a tree, and then we decided to get 2 because we have another little spot on the other side of the TV. So can you guys hear me? Let me see here. I don't know when that switched because I didn't touch anything. Were you guys hearing all of that, or was that just muted this whole time? Oh, we just lost sound, Aaron said. Okay. All right. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Hopefully it's not going to do that again. That was kind of weird. At least I got a pop-up and it warned me. So basically, we had a blast. We went and got some trees, and I got 2 trees set up, having a great time filming all these reels, trying to have a different mindset, I guess, of looking at everything as content, which is really kind of tough. And yes, live trees, Aaron. Definitely got live. So we have a Christmas tree farm just down the road from our house, and we go there every year and get live trees. So we got 2 of them, and it's a bit early. It's not as early. We've gotten them earlier in the past, and my husband can attest to that, where we've had a situation where we got trees and the trees basically died probably about 2 weeks before Christmas. And then we had to go back and get more trees and redecorate, which was kind of a nightmare. But usually when the Christmas tree farm down the road starts, we have it pretty much ready to go now. Like it will last until Christmas. So we're hoping that we don't have a situation as last time. I'm going to see who's in today, and we'll give some morning shout outs to everyone. We got Celtic Reptiles in the house. Good morning. Got That Is Crazy. Good morning. Yes, that is crazy. And my hubby's in the house. Good morning. Very excited. I didn't have a chance to upload some pictures here, but you'll be able to see it on his podcast this evening at 7. He's on the Lamest Chat. And we hatched out visual maples this week, which is super exciting because we got pretty invested in this project, but it's a new for the ball people in the house, ball python people in the house. It is a new gene that was founded with Corey Woods. And as all new genes are, a little bit difficult to get into. So we hatched 2 visuals. One is a visual pied as well, out of a 100% het to a possible het, which is now proved out 100% het. So it's pretty exciting, but Gerald will go ahead and share more photos. I know I put one on my story as well, but can't get more Canadian than that, right? The maple gene, like that is such a Canadian gene. And yes, Gerald, 30 days, 14 hours till Christmas. Cresty Millions in the house. Good morning. Hope everyone is well too, of course. And then we got the fat man himself, Chris Eaton in the house. Good morning. He's the one that's running the contest. So I have created, actually, I'll pop it up. I'm very excited. So I've created a banner now to pop on here and basically kind of reminding everyone to go vote. So if you haven't yet, just to give you a little background of the 15 Minutes of Lame contest. So it is officially started. The popular vote, or the basically public opinion vote, is worth 25% of the overall score. So that's where everyone's going to go and vote for you and, you know, their favorite candidate. And whoever wins that basically wins that vote for that quarter of the overall judging. The remainder is split between 3 judges. So each judge there's 3 judges that each have a vote, which takes up the remaining 75%. So someone could win a popular vote, but might not win the overall if the other 3 judges are in favor of somebody else. And, you know, so, or it could be a tie. I mean, there's so many ways this can go. And it really depends on a number of things. It depends on how you're running your campaign. It depends on how your business, how you're running your business, your appearance, your marketing, your collection, right? The animals that you're working with and projects that you're working with, and also the impact you have on the community, and also the how long, you know, they think that you foresee, like your future, your 5-year goal, like how long you're going to be around for. So there's a whole bunch of different factors. It's not just the popular vote. But definitely the popular vote helps. So if you can go vote, you can go to, I have the link in my bio in my Instagram, but you can go to thefatmannation.com, and right on that main page, there's a little vote now button. If you scroll down a bit, and it takes you to the voting page, and then basically you just click on me. And if you click on me, you can vote once a day, every day until December 24th, which is when it closes, and they will announce the winner. The judges will come together and give their decision as well. And the winners are going to be announced at noon on Christmas Day. So lots of fun. Very excited for it, as you can see. Yeah, so that if anyone has any questions, definitely reach out. And anyone wants to do collabs, I'm all for it. So if you want to reach out to my DMs, you can definitely send me some ideas. I would love to be able to engage with more people in the hobby and be able to have fun, whether it's a endorsement video or whether it's kind of like, you know, being able to do some fun, lighthearted stuff together too. I'm all for it. We have Aaron Wheeler in the house. Good morning. It's finally a little chilly here in Florida, but not for long. Yeah, how chilly, Aaron? Probably not as cold as it is here. Parkour Geckos in the house. Good morning. Got RTS in the house. Good morning. My mouse broke yesterday, so I have an old mouse, and it's been a little bit tricky to kind of scroll up and down because that little wheel function's not working. Cassandra's in the house. Good morning, Cassandra. The snow has finally found its way to northern Ontario. Yeah, I've heard also out west. I heard, I think it was Calgary that got hit. So it's on its way. I just, you know, hope it takes a little bit longer to get here. Who else we got? I think we got all the shout outs. Oh, Tammy's in the house. Good morning, Tammy. Hope you're doing well. And Gerald, I don't know why you're spamming the comments with the link because you have like 6 or 7 links here for voting. Click the link, yeah. And we got RC Joey. Hi, good morning. A lot of people in the house this morning on this lovely Sunday. So yeah, I think what we'll do is we'll get into it, and I'm going to pop up our tea time. All right, so for tea time today, it's still segue. I don't want to make it super heavy, 15 minutes a lane, but that's what my life has been consisting of for the past week, to be honest. I think that it's been like awesome to see the collaboration with everybody, and everyone's uplifting each other and supporting each other. Even other contestants, you know, that you're participating in it and you're sharing each other's videos too. So as much as you're trying to get votes for yourself, there's still that collaboration where you're also posting other people's stuff and trying to get everyone to really see what's going on. For today, what I wanted to do is just pop up. I got an endorsement video from Kristen over at Cresty Works, and I will be taking some time to post it this morning. I just haven't had a chance yet to put it on Instagram, but I thought it'd be fun to kind of air it here as a little preview and share it with everyone first. So I'm going to pop that up.
What's up, everybody? So what I need y'all to do is, see right here, Gecko Diva, see that? I need y'all to go to her Instagram, and in her bio there is a vote link. I need y'all to go there and vote for Crystal for 15 minutes of lame. Y'all, the gecko community has to come through. We need to band together more than ever, and let's kick these ball pythons people's butts in this. It always goes to python breeders. Always, always. This is the first time that a gecko breeder has been in 15 minutes of lame, and she needs it. Crystal with Gecko Diva. Yes, Gecko Diva. See, and I got all cute for her. Y'all, we have got to do this. So again, Gecko Diva, her name is Crystal. You're going to go to her bio on Instagram, and you're going to click the vote link, and you're going to scroll down till you see her little picture and her name, and you click that. You can vote every single day. You can vote on multiple devices. I need y'all to do it. We have got to kick the Python community's arse. Y'all, let's do this. Let's kick some butt so she can get the, what is it? The medal, the wrestling belts. Yes, the gecko community needs this more than ever, you guys. Let's do something great for the community, and let's kick some ball pythons people's butt. I have balls. I love them, but we've got to do this. So get over there right now. Go vote for Crystal Gecko Diva now.
It's so much fun. So yes, I think it's been a week now, so a week down. So definitely loving the positivity. And as much as we can kind of include other people in this and really kind of get connected with other breeders, and you know, it's just have fun with it, right? And yeah, I'll be sharing a lot of stuff on projects and stuff too coming up. So definitely let's keep this going. Let's keep the momentum with a lot of fun and support. And if, again, as I said in previous episodes, if anyone has any love they want to share for people in the community, to send it to me. I am more than happy to highlight it on the next episode of Coffee and Cresties. I think what we'll do now is we'll hop into our guest. So I'm just going to bring up the little intro. Good morning, Nick. How are you?
Good morning, everybody. Good. How are you?
Good. You got your Timmy hose too?
Yeah, can't start a morning without it, right?
So yeah, so you got Timmy's where you are. So
Yeah.
where exactly are you located for those who don't know?
So we're Niagara Falls, Buffalo area. So right over the border.
Okay. And to start off giving a little background. Did I freeze here? No, I'm good. Okay. Pop. It's been a morning. Giving a little background with everyone. So how did you get into Crested? How long have you been doing this? Where did the name come from?
So I've had reptiles since I was like at the age of 4, on and off, bunch of different stuff, chameleons, iguanas, all kinds of stuff, frogs, things like that. And then, kind of got busy with being an adult and a dad and things of that nature. And, I had a job where, I had to go away for long periods of time. And for that reason, kind of had to draw back a little bit. But I had a great plan of getting a crested gecko for my son as a pet back maybe 9, 10 years ago. And
Okay.
then that turned into something that, is now HKD Geckos. And the name comes from, I want to, kind of get the kids involved into something. And so it
Okay.
is, my son's name is Hunter, that is crazy, he's watching right now. He's got a YouTube channel, so
Oh,
you got to check it out. The trick shots. There's your plug, Hunter. You owe me some chores or something for that. And then my daughter Kylie, and then our last
okay.
name Dodge, so HKD Geckos.
Perfect. That's
That's how
awesome.
it started, and then we've been breeding. We started slow, still kind of ramping up to where we are now. Every year we try to add a little bit more and kind of refine some things, but I think this is like our 8th or 9th season. And it's been fun, and it's been a wild ride, and we're continuing to kind of go with it. So
Yeah.
um,
I think it's the tale as old as time, eh? I think that's probably the most common thing that I hear when even if people have had reptiles when they were younger, it always seems to be their kid that kind
yeah.
of got them back into it. Where, it's like, oh yeah, well, I got that reptile, that snake or that crested gecko for my kid, and then boom,
I
welcome.
use the kid as an excuse.
Oh, okay. You were being sneaky.
Yeah, well, we always had, something, saltwater tank, or, we tried to do a vivarium. We had frogs in a dining room at one point in time.
Okay.
And so, it was just, I always wanted to breed something and refine something and make something different than what everybody else had out there in the hobby. And this was kind of they're easier to care for. They don't need a lot of space. And so it's easier to try to make something new with that, in my opinion. So
Okay. So when you first got into Cresties, because you're heavily invested with like the tricolor projects, right? So
like
was
more.
that the initial one that you got into, or did you start with something else and then it just completely went the opposite way? Or
There was no real plan. I think back then it was pinstripes. Oh, it's a 90% pinstripe or something like that. And those caught my eye, but I like the contrast of the pinstripes with having that white pin down the back. But I
okay,
think we started off with like a flame that we got at a local pet store. And then after that, we got a yellow flame and then try to put those together. And then I bought a breeding pair off, I think it was LGP geckos back in the day.
okay,
And started breeding what we had and then what they had, and then we just started tweaking. And then like everybody else, nobody knows exactly what they want to get into until like a couple seasons into it. So
yeah.
that's
So what would you say right now is like your main projects?
tricolor. I like high orange. That's anything. I mean, I love tigers are one of like my favorite creatures, and so anything that could kind of replicate that look is something that is the direction I like to go. So the brightest the orange and the brightest the whites, and then we like to have that highlighted crest on our geckos, and so that's kind of like become a sort of like a trademark of ours, and so that's kind of the direction that we're looking to go with everything.
Yeah,
But trying to improve on every generation, pretty much.
that's awesome. Well, what I'm
And
going to do is I'm going to pop up some pictures that you sent us, and we'll start talking about some of the animals that you have. So let's start with this one. Yeah, they're very vivid, eh? I
thank
always
you.
get amazed when I see the pictures that you post. I'm like, oh, it's so bright and it pops with all the contrast. And
Especially with how like dreary it is outside, now like we won't see the sun until like May, it almost seems like. So you
yeah,
can tell in that picture the natural light is the best. But yeah, that one right there, that is, we produced him last season, and the name for him is Buffalo Sauce. We're huge
okay.
fans, 716 Buffalo area. We make chicken wings the way that they're intended to be made, with blue cheese, not ranch. But if you look at it, it almost looks like the hot sauce that you get on, the regular buffalo wings. And so that's
Yeah,
kind of where the name came from. We produced him out of Nova and Nova and Genesis. And Nova came from Hidden Valley Gecko, and then Genesis we made in house. And Genesis is from Lemmy and Vanya.
okay, awesome. And this guy here, I guess, what are your ultimate goals like with, because there, I guess there's less pin on this one, right? So like, what are your goals with this guy in a project in the future? I'm guessing this
Yeah,
is a whole
so
pack.
the hard part is it's like we have a lot of stuff that we've produced in house that looks like him, and then I always have to bring something in to pair with them, and want to make sure that I don't lose, some of the stuff that we're going in a direction. So I have a couple stuff that we had this year. I think like Sundance and like Toxic Ooze, who I got from Enzo.
Okay.
Sundance came from Emily Burke, that we paired with Smoke Show this year. I might try to mix some things up and see. It really depends if he's gonna be ready next season. He's still
Yeah.
in the high 30s. I like him to be a little bit bigger and more established before I, enter him into the lineup. But I want to get away from having the pinstripe on the back as much as we can. So I like having more
Okay.
of that dashed look on the dorsum.
Yeah.
That's and then more of like the crazy pattern on the side. I love the pixels. This isn't a pixel, but like to have a look that's similar to something like that, where it's kind of broken up on the back and the side, is kind of where I'm looking to
Yeah.
go. As long as it still has that highlighted
I'm
crest.
I'm gonna put a shameless plug in there and say pixels are all the rage.
Yes, they are. For
Yeah,
me,
yeah. Well, they're starting now that they've figured out a little bit more information about them and how they work. Right, it's super exciting to be able to start working them in projects, and I would imagine they'd be exciting for you because it's very high orange with pixel.
absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, look, we got a judge in the house. Leviathan's in the house. Good morning.
Morning.
And I think the next one is Smoke Show, right?
Yep, that's Smoke Show. He is from Lemmy and Vanya. Lemmy came from JB Cresties, and then Vanya came from Emily Burke. He was produced 2 seasons ago, and he's also the one we'll probably talk about later that was the Gold Standard Gecko Club winner at Flora Fauna last season.
Okay. So he was the winner, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. So why don't you tell us about that whole experience? Because you won the overall like best in show with Smoke Show, correct?
I did. Yeah. Surprise.
Like
Yeah,
it's
it
a
was.
great achievement.
I mean, it's crazy. So it was the third Flora Fauna conference that Gabby and those guys held. David from Tiki's Geckos wanted to establish something to try to keep breeders to focus on, a lot of the aspects of Crested Geckos, and kind of have them in a direction, kind of almost like how dog breeding is and that kind of stuff, and judging for that kind of thing. So he had a criteria that was sent out. This was the first show that he was going to have this Gold Standard Gecko Club. And basically he had a bunch of different categories. You have to have, the gecko has to weigh a certain amount, it has to be a certain age, it has to be something you bred, and there's some other details in there. It was a small entry fee that you had to submit before the show. And then you had to submit pictures of, I think, both sides, and then a top view picture to him beforehand. Bring the gecko, and then I think he picked up the gecko on Saturday morning. They judged it, and then they did the results that afternoon after the show was done.
Okay.
They had a bunch of different judges that went in the back. They looked at everything. They didn't know whose gecko was what, or where it came from or anything like that. And then they all judged it based on the criteria that David had out. And it was a good experience, great experience. And I knew Smoke Show was something special. I just had no idea that I was going to win and that he was going to win. And it really opened up a lot of doors, and it was awesome. A great
that's the cool thing of it. I do like how they had a lot, like for the judges anyways. Sorry. They're not labeled as to who produced them, right? So they're actually just judging based on the gecko that they see. I mean, unless, you're going to have situations where people might be posting a lot of that gecko and you might recognize it. I mean, that could happen. But let's face it. I mean, there's so many geckos that are being posted all the time online that it's hard to keep track of which gecko is which, right? But yeah, it was a lot of fun as a spectator to watch and to see it unfold and them posting. And I know this year they did one as kind of like a pilot project to see how it was going to kind of work. And it was neat. It was a lot of fun, like for seeing it anyways. It was just kind of interesting. I'd like to like hearing your side of it, being a participant in it, right? And then having those different categories, and then they have the overall like show winner, which is kind of neat, like they do with the dog shows. But I feel like it elevated things a little bit more for expectations for people, for kind of really being more selective about holdbacks and what they're using for their breeding projects, because it did put more of an emphasis and a light on that importance of structure, right? And of course, structure is kind of going to be more of a personal preference too. Like some people will have mixed thoughts on what they feel is necessarily the best or the nicest structure, right? At the end of the day, it's just like dog shows, right? At the end of the day, you have a criteria, and then not everyone necessarily needs to agree on everything that they see, but at least it gives you something to kind of like a baseline, which I think has been great. But how have you felt like after the show? Like, has there been more interest now that you're finding on animals that are coming from his lineage? Like, has it impacted?
Yeah, I have a lot of people reaching out. I have a lot of people reaching out, for babies and stuff like that. And I still kind of, I want to wait. I want to see how they are as they progress in age and as they put on some weight. And even, I mean, we're up here in the, Northeast, and it's starting to get cold. So like temperatures or ship will kind of help me with this plan. But right now, I think I will. Right now, the plan, and it could change, is releasing the first set of Smoke Show babies at next year's Flora Fauna Conference, which will be I believe it's the first weekend in May.
That's awesome. And are you doing some sort of wait list for it, or is it going to be kind of like a first come first serve, get there early?
I've yet to like figure that thing out yet. I hate to say something on here and then change the plan. Yeah. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Keep watching. Do you have any like plans to potentially enter another gecko in the contest? Because I would imagine they're going to do it again this year, right? Or
yeah, I'd like to. I got some, some stuff that I held back. I just have to see if they make sure it's the same. It fits within the criteria of the age and weight.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that they're planning on doing more than one, for the next year. Like, I know I was speaking to David about it, and this year was kind of like just having the one and then figuring out what worked and what didn't, and kind of like tweaking it a bit so that it can be even better for next year. So that's super exciting. I know as a Canadian, I would love to participate in it if I can. I'll figure out a way, even if I have to ship it. Maybe I'll have to ship a gecko to you and just meet you there.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, it's fun, and it's also the sense of collaboration, right? Getting
Yeah.
people together, and then they have them on display at the show so that you can actually go in and see. Because I think it's after that they judge that they display them, or did they display them before?
Yeah, I think they, now I'm trying to remember. I think they had them out and they're displayed, and then they would bring back a certain category, um,
Okay.
judge that category at a certain time while the other ones were out there. So, and I think you could, as vendors, as people walking around that show, could go up there and then judge what you thought on a specific category that was being out and displayed at that time.
Oh, so they had like a public opinion too, where you can
They
kind
did,
of
yeah.
go in. Oh, that's kind of neat that they did that. Yeah, Cassandra says we need a Canadian contest. Hey, maybe at CRBE. That could be something at our big Canadian show. Yeah, I mean it's a lot of fun, right? Like it definitely will generate some buzz when there's something new and exciting like that comes up, which is you know, it's great, that's for sure. But he's such a nice gecko.
Thank you.
And I'm looking, you have some that like you have holdbacks and stuff he's already produced, or
This is his first season. I think
okay,
right now I'm sitting on 30-ish babies from him.
okay, wow. And like he's producing some pretty nice stuff, but like consistency wise, or that you're finding?
Um, right now, yeah. A lot of his babies have that, that pinstripe and that solid dorsum, and
Okay.
they have solid lat structure too as well. I posted one yesterday. It doesn't have that. It's a little bit different, but it was his pairing with Odyssey, and
Okay.
Odyssey is from Jarvis, and I think it's Goji from Zandex. And so
Okay.
with her babies, normally they have big crests, and so you could see that on the baby that I posted yesterday on Instagram.
That's awesome. I love the white crown, right? Like the white crests around, like it's so especially with like an opposite, like a when you're having a bright color, it really pops, which is really neat.
Yeah, I love that trait.
Awesome. Okay, so who's this one?
So that one is Bombshell, and she is a full sibling of Smoke Show. And so she
Okay.
was produced last year, and I think she's around the 30-ish, high 30 in grams on weight right now. But she's got that crazy bright color orange on her, and of course the highlighter crest as well. And she's the only Limmy Vanya baby that I held back last season.
Okay, awesome. And so she's gonna also kind of play a role, like you've held her back, so she's gonna be part of your future projects as well. Are you looking to kind of bring in other stuff into the project, like the lilies or any like cappuccino or anything like that, or what's your intent with that, or even if you can talk about it?
Yeah, no. So right now, I think we have 3 cappuccinos that we're working with. One that we got at Florafania conference, a female from Ruby Reptiles, and
Okay.
then we got 2 from Treehouse Geckos. And so those are still babies. We're growing those up, but the one from Ruby's is she's ready to breed, and so she'll be paired with Smoke Show next season.
Okay,
Um,
cool.
I'll post her probably this week. I took a picture of her outside. It's hard to take pictures around here because I get out of work at like 4-ish and then it's already dark. And so
Oh, okay.
kind of kills it. So I have to do it on like a day off or something like that.
And
Um,
that's, yeah, and I find for pictures when you have an animal that has such bright orange, the natural light outside is the best way to capture it. Because I know if I'm trying to capture it indoors, you always get like either it's oversaturated or it'll like be too faded. Or I know I personally have a really hard time taking pictures of stuff with that bright orange on it and tangerine and whatnot. So it makes it a bit tricky when it's colder or when it's getting darker early, eh?
yeah, exactly. Until like May. So yeah, for us, yeah, that it's you take them inside, and even the pictures don't do it justice when they're outside as well. So seeing these things in person, you really are like, wow, they'll blow your hair back.
Yeah, no, for sure. Awesome. All right, so tell me about this guy. He's cool. I like him.
So I did not produce him. I picked him up right after the Florafania conference last year, and he's one that we'll be mixing with the Limia Vanya females that I have. So the one that I just showed you,
Okay.
Bombshell, I'd like to introduce those two together probably next season if possible, depending upon, weight and everything else. But I got him from Noah and Meredith Bounds. His name is Flashbang. And he's out of Date Mike and Pasteurized Cheese Product. I believe that's the name. They got amazing names. But just, look at him. I mean, those colors and everything else, it's exactly kind of the direction I want to go. The only thing that I'd like to change a little bit with him is, put a little white on those crests. So hopefully with the combinations of those oranges, we'll get something crazy.
Well, there's so much coverage on this gecko, right? Like you're getting it like all the way around, and with the banding on the back too, it looks like it's going all the way around, which is really neat.
Yeah, that thing, it was probably the most expensive Cresty I picked up, and I have no regrets.
Well, that's good. You wouldn't want to regret. And it'd be a little sad if it was the most expensive one that you picked up and you're like,
But you never know what you're getting when they're babies, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
he was a brighter orange in the pictures, but I love that shade of orange right there. It's more like a yellowish orange.
Yeah, and that's what's so tough about Cresties, that I think like people that don't necessarily get or understand if they're working with other reptiles is that a crested gecko can change so much from what you see when they're young to being a mature adult, right? Like, and it could be both ways.
Mm-hmm.
You can think something is spectacular little and it's just doesn't really gain. I mean, for the most part, I usually see that there's more pattern and that spreads and it grows, but you never know. And even structure, something could look really nice and then it gets to a lanky stage and then it never really gets out of that kind of lanky stage. And then you have some that, you're not too sure when they're little. And then when they get big, you're like, oh, wow, like that thing just pops.
Yeah, I know. I know I've gone to shows and brought things that I wasn't sure what, it was the first season that the parents were paired. You sell it at a cheaper price, and then somebody shows you pictures like a year later, and you're like, oh my God, like I wish I had that in my collection now. So I think that's one of the reasons why I want to wait to sell anything with Smoke Show is, number one, I don't want to overcharge for it. And number two, I don't want to sell something that later I could definitely use in the collection. So I think it's, good to kind of wait till like the 10, 15 gram range. It does stink. There's more stuff you have to feed and take care of and everything else. But that's why it's good to have a smaller collection and keep it real focused.
Well, and the other thing too is you're going into his second season this year, right? So seeing what is going to hatch out from the pairings from the second season is also going to help determine that overall value, because if he's hatching out things that are just very consistent, then that's even more added value to the lineage, right? Because you're like, it's a consistent lineage. Because you'll see some pairings like, well, you'll like be really excited, like I'll have a male that I'm super excited about, and then I'm getting such a wide variety, which can be exciting in itself, where you're getting so many different things, but then you never know what you're going to get when you're pairing with that male. Like, it's not like there's going to be like a consistent, like, I promise you, like, if you're going to invest in this lineage, you're going to get some really nice, tricolors, or you're going to get a higher percentage of these traits and stuff. And knowing that can make a difference when someone's looking to invest in certain things for their project.
Exactly.
Yeah. So people, if you're gonna have some at Florafana, jump on it, because that might be your chance to get something really, really nice. And then the price might go up after that, depending on how those projects start going. Yeah, no, I'm excited to see what you're going to produce with this one. I like that lighter kind of orange and the cover. I know I have a couple here that are in a different capacity, because I don't really work with kind of like the tricolor stuff, but I do work with.
Yeah, you don't work with it yet.
Yeah, yet. Yeah, so you're kind of starting to win me over. And the thing is some of those pixels I've hatched out that are het pixels, like are coming in with the tricolor. I'm like, oh, it's kind of growing on me because there's that heavy orange with them, right? So yeah, no, they're very cool. And tell me about this one.
So that's another, that one was produced out of Nova and Nemesis last season. And so she is related to that buffalo sauce that I had. So I had two clutch mates that I kept back last season, or maybe 2 seasons ago. I don't know, math and plugs, not a good thing, but Nemesis and Genesis. And so Nova was paired to both of them, and so buffalo sauce was Nemesis, or was Nova and Genesis, and then she is a product of Nova and Nemesis.
Okay, awesome.
And so
I
she's
love so thick that white around her crest. Like, it's stunning. It pops so much.
Yeah, I had her and her clutch mate both hatched out, and I was a fan of both of them, but I really liked her clutch mate more because it had orange on the body and everything else. And then, but this thing had, you could see the white on the dorsum and the crest and stuff like that. And as it got older, I'm like, okay, I'm going to sell the clutch mate because this one definitely won me over. And that's the whole thing with like watching them develop over time. Sometimes it takes a little bit to see, how it's going to change or progress, and especially if it's a first time pairing with those parents.
Do you find that you hold them back a lot longer before you bring them for sale? Because I know there's some breeders, right, that will hold on to them until they're almost ready to breed, like to adulthood, before they even decide who they let go. And then other people will sell hatchlings, right? It's very mixed within the community of what people will do.
I think in the beginning, going to show, because I go to a lot of local shows and stuff like that. Like that's usually where I sell. I just started selling online this season. But yeah, I would sell them smaller, and then now it's okay. We got to see what these things turn out. So I started changing, the way we do things a little bit more.
I think that kind of happens too when you experience selling something and then seeing how nice it is afterwards. You're like, I shouldn't have sold that. I know for myself, like with the Pixel project, before knowing like the recessive stuff and how it works, I ended up hatching out something that looked just like a little orange tiger. And I was like, oh, it's cute. It's a tiger. And I thought maybe I'll work with some tiger and stuff. And I kind of held it back and decided not to sell it. And for those of you who follow my Instagram might remember, it's the little tiger I hatched that I named Firestarter. And I was like, oh, it's cute. It's the only little tiger I have. Well, I can tell you this thing, when it hit about 10 grams, just exploded with pattern that it did not have. And I don't know where it came from. So it started getting this dorsal pattern, and then up the sides, it started coming up like little flames, like the pixelated kind of spots, which I thought was really cool. And if I would have sold that saying, oh, I don't work with tigers or whatever, like I would have never been able to see that development getting to that size and realizing like how crazy of a change it had. So there is something to be said to kind of hold on to things and wait and be patient. It's a game in patience.
Something in which you don't have much of.
Yeah, I know it's tough. I mean, like it's a little bit easier when you're working with ball pythons, right? Like my husband has the ball python side of things. So for him, when something hatches out, it's very clear and concise, like what genetics you've hatched. And it's like, based on the odds, whatever you're hatching, whether or not you already know what you're planning on keeping if you're going to hatch it. And then everything else, you're like, okay, that's stuff that's going to be for sale. So there's not as much of a need to sit on it. But it's a lot different. Like this year, I had a really, really heavy phantom year, but it's all phantom stuff that's come out of things where the pairing is not necessarily all visual phantoms, right? So now having that situation with the Pixel, I'm stressed to like let things go more quickly because I'm like, well, I don't know. Maybe things will pop up, because it's not like I did like a phantom to a phantom, right? And it's some other kind of like mystery projects I'm working on and stuff. So you don't really know how things are going to pop up. But that's the whole exciting side of things. I think that's what makes it special working with the Cresties. That is that very different than working with other reptiles, is that you have that extra little fun that keeps coming, the gift that keeps giving.
Yeah.
You hatch something out and you're like, every month you look back like, oh, something new with the same gecko. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. And who's this lovely one?
That is a female cappuccino that I picked up this season from Janine at Treehouse. So
Okay.
that one, I'm hoping, she's small still, but I would love to get her in the lineup with Smoke Show.
Okay.
She's definitely, it's hard to even, the camera doesn't do justice on this gecko. It's got such, a weird coloration on it.
Yeah.
You could see the different tones and everything else on there, but that white is just stark white. This thing is going to be amazing, and it's got the highlighted crest, one of my favorite treats. But that thing and him are going to make some killer geckos down the road.
That's awesome. And you can see it already kind of in the picture, like it has more of that orange hue, right?
Yeah, it does.
It's a cap that has everything that you want. It has the highlighted crest, it's got the orange hue, it's got the contrast. Like, of course you had to pick it up.
Yeah. Well, and it was really, because I kept asking her, she had some tuxedo lines that she had on Morph Market, and I was looking at them, and then I reached out to her, and she was actually at a show. And so she said that gecko sold, the one that I was looking for. I'm like, okay. And then she just sent me a video of like everything she had on the table, and that one was like hidden. And I'm like, what's that one again? Can I see something on that one? And she's like, yeah. And so I picked two of them up, but that one definitely was. It wasn't the one that I was first drawn to because it was one of the smallest ones she had on the table. But that's a pickup that I'm excited that we went for, and it's gonna pay dividends later in the future for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Celtic was mentioning needs a good male with good structure, and yeah, and that's the thing I think with caps is that they're slowly starting now. You're seeing more and more with better structure because it happens with newer genetics that enter the hobby, right? That we kind of come up like that, fall into our laps, I guess, because you're not really coming up with the genes. But it's always where you'll see where there's a poor head structure or something, and that gets built over time, right? Like she already has a lot nicer of a structure than what we've seen caps when they first came out, right? And it was the same with the lilies, and we saw the same with the xanthics. And right now I'm finding with the pixels, like my pixels don't have the greatest head structures. And this is all things that will eventually progress as you're planning the right pairings and putting things to, and working in the right projects, that eventually you'll see those improvements. And the whole hope is that you get what you liked about both animals, color-wise, traits and all that, and then also improve on the structure at the end of the day, right?
That's what makes it fun.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It makes us kind of feel like we're a little bit like playing God in a sense, where you're like, but it's the fun aspect of it, and the fact that you never know, because especially if it's a new pairing, you don't know what's going to come out.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I find it a blast, and I've just gotten into cappuccinos myself, so I have one growing up, and my struggle is going to be identifying them. So I'm kind of trying to pair strategically where it makes it a little bit easier for me to be able to kind of really pick them out. Some people have better eye for that than others, right? So I'm like, how do you know this is a cat versus not? Because there was some like easier little things like traits that you can really pick on. And then I'm like, now that there's some that don't have those, and when you're pairing it with different things, you're getting different traits coming out. It can make it a little bit harder to kind of figure that out, right?
Yeah, I think that's why Smoke Show has that stark white tail. I might have a little bit of an indication if I see, those tail markers on that. It's going to help. But yeah, I'm still new to it as well.
Yeah, Cresty Millions. I don't know if Nick has any tips, but I can tell you I don't have any tips for identifying caps. I mean, aside from the little Y at the base of the tail and a couple little things that we've already heard and seen, the problem is you're now seeing people working with different shades of colors and caps and different patterns and like heavier whites and stuff within caps that I find it makes it a bit trickier. And we don't have shed testing. So at the end of the day, when in doubt, prove it out. Put it to a lily.
Or take pictures, send it to other people, bother them like, hey, is this? That's kind of what
That too, but that's also tough because I had one here that I was like, oh, that really. So I bought a cap, and I know it's a cap, and I was like, this looks really similar to one I already have, and I had sent pictures. And they're like, oh yeah, no, that really looks like a cap. But then all the hatchlings I got from this year's pairing didn't turn out, but it's because I paired her to one before I was deciding to whether or not she was a cap. And I didn't think they had locked. So then I paired her to a lily, but she had locked with the first one. So I'm going to try her anyways to a lily next year or next breeding season for her to see if anything comes out. But it's when in doubt, prove it out. Celtic says I'm getting into sable over caps. I just love the look over sable. Yeah, and sables are cool too. I definitely love the look. It's a bit tricky for us in Canada to get our hands on some of these things.
It's easier to get caps right now, I think, and
yeah,
especially when you have a smaller collection, you don't want to be, sables, caps, lilies. Can't have all the morphs.
Well, that's the thing, right? And it really depends on what direction you're wanting to take things in and where they're at in certain projects. So I would see for you, like if caps are already being taken into a direction where you're starting to get orange hues and this and that within them, then it makes sense for you to get into caps because you already have animals that you can purchase that will already fit well within your plans. Sables are like awesome. Like I've seen some really nice sables and it'd be something that I would love to get into, but then I have to sit back and think about what are my main projects and what value added is that if I were to invest in getting a sable. And at the end of the day, with the stuff I'm working with, it just doesn't make sense for me to get into sable, right? So it might later on, but just where I'm at now, I would just be getting a sable to make more sables, and that's not what I'm in it for, So I'm really in it more for working on the passion of developing on specific projects that you're working on, kind of like you, where you have goals and you're wanting to see where to take those and kind of progress. Celtic says, I'm tricolor heavy on my projects. Well, you're going to have to go and see what HKD has coming up in the new year.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, I was eyeing up some sables. I almost pulled the trigger on a couple. And then I saw some of Janine's caps, and I'm like, okay, I was going this direction. I veered. So I try the caps for this season, and then maybe next season I'll get into sables. It really depends on how much. I don't have a lot of room, so I got to be very strategic with what I keep and what direction we go into.
Well, and that's the other thing, right? It could be too easy to get into too many projects.
Yes.
So I'm always of the mindset that find what you like, find what works for you, and then integrate other things into those projects. So whether it be things that'll kind of improve on it or kind of change and shake things up again a bit, like that's kind of the model about how I've handled things. And, sometimes it changes and sometimes you want to work with something new and that happens too. Like I got really into the tangerine this summer, like seeing some really bright, vivid tangerines on lilies. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool. Because I've always been a Halloween fan. And I haven't seen a lot of Halloweens on the market over the last couple of years. Like aside from a couple selective people who do focus on them, just a straight like Halloween with no try or anything, right? So now, I don't know. Halloween might be something that's kind of coming in with maybe soft scale or, a tangerine influence and stuff that I'm already working with. Celtic's asking a question. What is Smoke Show's lineage?
Yep, Smoke Show is from Limmy and Vanya, produced in house. Limmy is from JB Cresties. I think I purchased him back in 2018-ish. And then Vanya is from Emily Berkline and purchased her like 2019.
Awesome. So do you have any, aside from like the caps that you got into, are there any specific projects or things that you're interested in maybe adding in the future, maybe not the next couple years, but that you've kind of kept an eye on? Or
I do like the Pixel. Kind of want to wait a little bit to, for more information to come out of that. I do have a gecko that has some qualities that made me think it could be a possible pixel or have something in its lineage.
okay.
It's toxic ooze, and that's kind of why I gave it its name. It's like it's got a lot of funkiness going on with it. And I got that one out of that came from Enzo Reptiles, Madison, and it's got Rialto lineage too. So that one I paired with Smoke Show this year. Definitely has the babies that came out have really weird like dorsum pattern and stuff like that. I want to see how those go, but I would like to get maybe possibly Pixel mixed in down the road and see
Okay.
what it does with the color and pattern. But other than that, I mean, it's kind of like I'm pretty good with what we have going on this season. We'll see how it goes next season and what direction we like to go and go from there. But I'm done buying stuff this year. I bought too many things.
You're saying that now, and there's still a month. I'm
No,
just
I don't.
saying.
I no. Yeah, I know. I know. I need
I'm
to
gonna
make.
wait for that post in December where you're like, I got myself a Christmas present.
This is me not looking at Pond Street or anything, and then people will send me geckos like, take a look at this, it's for sale. I'm like, no, stop. Gotta save money.
Oh, with all the palm streets that's been going on too, eh? It's so easy to kind of, and you can set up your credit card on there and everything. So it's just a click of a button and it's yours.
Yeah. Trying to avoid that at all costs for right now.
Yeah. So you're planning on doing
Yep.
Flora Fauna, sorry, next year. Do you do other shows? Like, are you active in the expo
Yeah,
circuits
that's
and
kind of
stuff?
where we used to sell a lot locally and then go to shows. So like right now the show season's over. I think there's a show locally that starts up in January here. So there's a
Yeah.
January show, February show, then March they just start. March and April it really starts to go, and then that usually spring is heavy for the shows, and then so is the fall. So right now we're kind of in like in the dead of winter where you're just feeding things and watching things growing up and then just
Yeah.
kind of taking care of stuff until the next show, and that'll give us some time to kind of see how things are progressing with some of the other first time breeders that we had and some old stuff. I had to bring that, but like I said, the smoke show stuff's gonna have to stay back a little bit, at least till May. Right now, that's a plan.
Is there any national shows around where you are? Like, do you have any intent to see if you're gonna vend a national show, or is it just gonna be local for now? Or
See, a lot of those. So our shows here, luckily, are usually one day. So we drive up that day, we set up, and then we leave. And so we've traveled. I think on a one-day show, maybe up to 3 hours.
okay,
Um, like total and geckos that I have, that we produced this season, I don't have the quality to really do a lot of those big ones. Like the
yeah,
smaller ones are kind of fitting what we need, and then Morph Market as well. I think as we
fair
start to
enough.
produce more, we might need to go out further, but I don't want to say no, but it's right now it's I still work.
Yeah,
I got to take the kids, got football and all kinds of cheerleading and stuff. So I'm
I hear you.
so it would have to fit the schedule, but we're growing slowly. I don't want to bite off more than I can chew. So there'll be, I know there's a show today in Long Island. Would love to go out that way. But that fact would be a good, 8-hour drive for us. So it would have to be a whole weekend thing. So
Yeah, I'm gonna give quick shout out to Shauna. Good morning, Shauna. Thanks for popping in. Um, you should come visit us in Canada next year when we have the CRBE, the big Canadian show. Come and hang out.
good. I mean, it's only 15 minutes from the border for us. So
Yeah, because you're not super far, right? I don't know how far you are from like that Mississauga, Toronto area, but
Toronto, 2 hour. I think it's 2 hour drive.
oh, that's not bad at all.
No, not at
Right?
all.
I think there was somebody, and I'm sure my husband will correct, or Shauna will correct me if I'm wrong, but there was somebody who came up and did like I think a 9 hour drive to come, but they came right at the tail end of day 2. So they were able to hang out just a couple hours and then they had to drive all the way back home. I'm like, that's dedication to come say hi to people. It was a long drive.
Yeah,
Any
that's a
plans?
stay over for the weekend type of thing.
Yeah, right. Because yeah, I know when we do the show, like we drive up there, we're there for Friday, we stay the weekend. I mean, we vended the last CRB was our first time ever vending CRB,
Oh, nice.
and usually when we go up, it's a 1 day show. It's on a Sunday, so we'll go up Saturday. We'll set up. We'll stay over the night at the hotel. Then we'll tear down. Well, like vend Sunday. It's vends and we vend until 4, and then you tear down and you're out of there by 5. But then we're leaving Sunday after a whole day of vending to drive back home, and it takes us like 4.5 hours, 5 hours to get home, right?
A
So
long
by the
day.
time you get home, you're exhausted. Like, and then you get home and you're like, oh, I still got to put all the geckos away now and all the snakes away. It gets to be a lot.
Yeah.
But love it. It's still, it's definitely worth it because you're able to get out there and meet people and really connect. I think it's also a lot of fun to just go and visit the shows, and you can do that without all the hassle of having to set everything up and partake in it that way. Do you have any plans to join Palm Street?
Yeah, I'm not right now. I think
Okay.
just because I just have everything growing up, and I don't have a lot. So if I do, it would probably be in the spring if I did.
Okay. Awesome. Um, so yeah, I had a question and it didn't, then it disappeared. I love the logo that you have. Are you getting merch and stuff? Like, do you have stuff that you're selling or?
Right now we have T-shirts and stickers, and
Okay.
so um, we usually bring them to shows or whatever for the T-shirts. I think I'll start, next year, depending upon, if somebody buys something, how much they spend or whatnot, free shipping, get a T-shirt, that kind of thing. But that when it comes down to merch, that's all we got right now.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
it's a cool logo. I love the
Thank you.
logo, and it's one of your geckos, I think, in the logo, right?
Yeah, it's Vanya. I had the logo done by Noah Bounds. It's in the because when we go to shows, I make a lot of. We used to sell a lot of plants, sell a lot of bioactive
Okay.
stuff. I make, custom background vivariums and things like that that we'll bring to the show. So if somebody
Oh,
wants to
cool.
buy a tank and everything that's included for a Crested Gecko or whatever they have, and so I wanted something that incorporated plants and color, and I love the color green. And so that's what he came up with in the background for the HKD and the geckos and stuff like that.
That's awesome. And you just reminded me now. My next question was: are you doing other things other than Cresties? So I guess you're doing propagation, I guess, of plants and like
Yeah,
that. Is that part of your setup too? And like, so tell me about that.
when we go to shows, we usually like to provide more than just uh, the Crested Geckos. God forbid you go to a show and they don't sell well. You got to make it worth your while. So we'll bring vivariums. We'll bring, food to sell, isopods, springtails, other bioactive stuff, cork bark, that kind of stuff. My son does 3D print, so we'll bring some 3D print stickers, all that kind of jazz. And then we have some lychees that we're working with. Um,
Okay.
so right now we got some pure Nuana babies that we have growing up this season. We added some other stuff, some high color stuff. And so we'll be working with that. But I love the lychees. I love the difference in the size and coloration and locale specific stuff. So that's something that we're working with too as well.
Awesome. I think Celtic Reptiles said that Florifauna is a little too far away from them. So if they were interested in a smoke show offspring, they want to know if there's a waiting list for those that can't go to Florifauna or
I
how they
haven't
can get their
I
hands on
haven't
some. offspring.
I've had a lot of people asking me about doing a waiting list. Like I said, my plan isn't, 100%.
Yeah.
What might happen is going to Flora Fauna if it ends up being, I'm just spitballing right now, but bring them to Flora Fauna. Whatever doesn't sell, then take pictures and then put them up on Morph Market or whatnot.
Yeah.
After that week.
You could probably do a live too. Kind of like I know like Brian from Altitude and stuff, when he's at shows, he'll go on a live and give opportunities for people online who can't attend to buy things as well. So that might be an option too at Flora Fauna, where you're like, okay, you can't be here. For those who can't be here, here's the smoke show babies. Anyone interested? And then they can be like, I'm going.
I like that. I mean, I like the personal interaction, that kind of stuff, but I understand if you can't make it to that show, which I highly recommend. That show is a great time. It's more than just a show. It's a huge event. A lot of, meeting with people, chatting. It's an experience more than it's a show type of thing. So if you can make it to Flora Fauna conference, go ahead, make sure you sign up. You won't regret it. We had to leave early last year because I had to coach a flag football game with my son.
Okay.
We missed early Sunday, but yeah, it was a long ride home early, and we were like mad that we had to leave. So next year we're staying for the whole thing.
I'm sure you had fun at that 80s dance party though.
Oh yeah, he had a blast. He's got some dance moves. He made his old man look bad. I'll tell you that much.
That's funny. So we've hit that hour mark. Yeah, we've hit the hour mark. So where can people find you? Why don't you go ahead and pimp all your socials out?
Okay. Right now we're on Instagram, and we're on Facebook. I'm kind of like tech challenge when it comes to technology type of thing. And so we're working on just adding more and more and more. My son just, busts my balls on all the time about certain things, wants me to start a YouTube channel. So maybe down the road, we'll see. But right now, I just posted on Instagram and Facebook as much as I can. So anybody has any questions or anything else, just reach out to me, DMs, whatever. And I'll gladly help answer any questions you guys have. Other than that, the next show that we have in the books might be a local one in the Western New York area. I think it starts in January 22nd. Give or take. And then one in February, and then a lot of times I'll post that stuff on Instagram, Facebook, and somebody's looking and they're in the area and they want to come out and visit us and see what we got on the table.
Awesome. Are you on Morph Market as well, or?
We don't have anything on there right now. I sold everything that I had on there. And so right now, just with it's going to be winter here for the next 6 months.
Not a bad problem to have. Sell everything on Morph Market. And it's tough.
Usually I take the lower end stuff with us, the shows, the local shows, and then try to sell the nicer stuff online.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it, like you were gonna say there, it does make a difference with shipping, right? Because of the weather, and it's a little bit trickier when you reside somewhere where it's colder. And it makes it a little bit of a challenge, especially like you could be shipping it somewhere where it's not cold, but you have to kind of plan, okay, well, it's leaving somewhere cold and it's going through somewhere cold and then it's going to be somewhere hot. So it makes it a little bit more difficult.
Yeah. And then you never know when we're going to get hammered with like 20 feet of snow up here in Buffalo.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the chat today. I really appreciate having you on, and definitely going to be keeping a close eye on seeing, how your projects are developing and what you're posting, and when those smoke show babies are going to be ready to go. I'm going to make a effort to make it out to Flora Fauna this year. I've been already talking to my husband about it. So I'd love to be able to make it out and be able to participate in some capacity, whether it's just there as a spectator or, because I've been hearing great things about it. And it's a nice opportunity to meet everyone face to face, right?
Exactly. It's a blast. You won't regret it.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to put you backstage and I'll see you in a few minutes. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, that was an awesome chat with Nick. Really nice geckos. Like, he's really making me start to regret my choice of not working with tricolors. I'm not gonna lie. The high orange stuff is really cool, and the contrast, I have to say. Again, thank you everybody for joining today. Those of you who are going to catch the replay later, I appreciate your support. Again, if you haven't had a chance to vote, go to thefatmannation.com and cast your vote for me, Gecko Diva. I'm going to go and get some more reels out today. And you're basically going to hear from me. You might get sick of me because you're going to hear from me basically every single day while we're having fun. And if you're seeing anyone post anything that's you might think is, oh, they're being a little mean to me, it's all in good fun. We're having a blast, and that's part of the contest, is to kind of sometimes take cheap shots at each other and have fun and kind of one up each other. I'm having a rivalry right now with Ink Lady Morphs, where we're constantly trying to up one another's video. If you haven't already seen it, it's been a lot of fun. And Ink Lady, I'm coming for you because I'm going to do my video today, and you're going to see it later on. I already have the idea in mind. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, and I hope everyone has a great Sunday, and I will see you all next Sunday for another episode of Coffee and Cresties. Have a great day and a great rest of great start, I guess, to your week.
Shake your dreams from your hair. I'm already there, right beside you.